Adams just recently announced the opening of applications for companies to test their autonomous vehicles in the city. Similar programs are already being tested in cities like San Francisco, but safety concerns do remain top of mind as traffic deaths are already on the rise in some parts of the city. We asked New Yorkers on social media, should New York City allow self-driving cars? The results were overwhelmingly opposed to self-driving cars as a concept. On Twitter, more than 85% of you voted against self-driving cars. Nearly 15% voted to allow them to be tested here. On Instagram, it was similar, but 78% saying no, 22% voting yes. So a little bit more in favor of the option to test them here. To have this conversation and to discuss the pros and cons today, I'm joined by Jody Kelman, the former head of Lyft Autonomous Vehicles, and also Analisas Perspective. She is an Uber and Lyft driver and a leader with Justice for App Workers. I want to thank you both for coming in and having this really important conversation because we're just at the tip of potentially a tipping point for the city and mobility here. So Jody, let me start with you. And because we just saw those polls, people are not signing up for this at this point. Tell us, what is your argument in favor of bringing those cars to test here?
I led Lyft's autonomous vehicle program for over 4 years. And one of the big things we were focused on was really getting consumers comfortable and familiar with this technology, in part because of the exact results you're seeing sort of coming out of the New York populace today, right? We know that self-driving cars have this remarkable ability to transform how safe and frankly how human-centric, ironically, our roads are going to be. But we also know that people aren't comfortable with this technology up front. And the single biggest thing that we see change people's minds about the power of the technology is actually trying it.
Analisas, tell me your perspective on this, because it's not the same as Jody's.
Yes, thank you for the invitation. The autonomous vehicle in the city of New York it has its flaws still, and we have to consider the weather in New York City. We have a lot of issues when it comes to that. Also, New York City is always changing. We have so much going on in our streets, our pedestrians, our children, the delivery workers, the constructions that go day by day. Any other day we have street closures because of that. Are they going to be able to withstand with these issues that the city comes? And also the jobs that are going to be lost if this comes into the New York City. Thousands of drivers will lose their livelihood, as I will, because this is what we do. Mm-hmm. So I'm on everything. Safety for everyone is one of the issues. Are they going to be able to, move when there's a big pile of snow in front of them? How it's going to impact traffic, which is something that, we just finished a fight with the NT8 with the congestion and all that. So now we encountering a new one because it's a challenge for New York City.
Yeah, and you bring up some of the main points that people are concerned about to bring this technology to New York, because it is a unique city in terms of the roads and the double parking, the jaywalking, all of those issues. I just want to put up on the screen what some of the people who we reached, or we put out the question on social media, but some of our viewers, I don't know if you can see that, but essentially they're saying, bad idea, that's one. We need safer street infrastructure to rein in and out of control of human drivers. So talk, Jody, a little bit about why you don't see those as obstacles, and especially the safety component, a jaywalker, for example.
So whether we like it or not, humans are the most dangerous component in the driving equation. We're distracted. We grab another beer with our friends after the Yankees game, and we decide to get behind the wheel while impaired. So if you look at New York City stats, last year I think there were about 30,000 accidents that were just due to distracted driving in the city. So that's looking down at your phone while you're hanging out behind the wheel, turning to your friend and talking. It's actually one of the huge differences that rideshare and taxis make in terms of making our public roads safer. Where autonomous vehicles come in is in preventing those 97% of on-road fatalities that are due to distracted driving.
But let's talk about Uber and Lyft drivers in terms of what Analisa brings up, because you're saying, number one, the concern for jobs, but number two, impairment and being distracted is not a factor when you're talking about an Uber or Lyft driver or a taxi driver.
And this is, one of the things we thought a huge amount about at Lyft was the fact that drivers are, at Lyft, they were part of our family, right? We don't know each other, but I very much, Lyft drivers would come into the Lyft office every week and talk to us as an executive team about what they were experiencing out on the roads. And I think one of the biggest myths about autonomous technology is that it is coming everywhere and all at once. So if you look at the city's new testing program, what we're talking about is actually putting cars on the road with a safety driver behind the wheel. We are going to do this slowly. We are going to do it steadily. It's going to be city by city. And what you're going to end up seeing is, rather than an elimination of jobs, you're going to end up seeing just a shift in what types of jobs people are doing. So you might end up becoming a person who monitors what we call the teleoperations of an autonomous vehicle behind the scenes.
So to your point, Jody, is sort of where the mayor is coming from. I want to play what the mayor said on this when he got behind the technology. Here's Mayor Adams in his support for autonomous vehicle testing.
We announced the other day of self-driving cars testing. Anytime you use technology, you need to put it into the real environment to iron out the kinks. You can't live in a lab. You can't stay in a lab forever. You must be willing to say, I'm going to put it out among the real universe to iron out the next level of perfection.
Analisa, to Jody's point and to the mayor's point, this is technology that's now out there that seems to be coming. Isn't it a good idea for New York to get at the forefront and participate?
I don't think New York is ready. The infrastructure of New York is still developing. It's the same thing with the congestion that they want to create. We still have too much in the city. Our city is one of the most visited city on a daily. So, plus the people that live and work here, we are the center of business for everyone. So I think that we're still not there. There's a chance, and yes, it's welcome. Every technology is welcome, but New York City is still not at that point where it was safe for the citizens of New York. It's safe for the city, and we're still struggling controlling the congestion and what entitles. So having these vehicles in the city would, our belief is going to create, because of they're going to be so many obstacles that they're going to encounter that it will create it'll slow traffic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people is not so receptive to the idea, because if we've been here in New York City I've been here for more than 30 years, especially 42nd Street is the worst area in New York City, where people would just jump in front of you. So.
New Yorkers we spoke with agree with that. Wait, hold that thought, Jody. I want to just play from one New Yorker, because we can't play them all, because I want to hear more from you. This is what one New Yorker said to Adalgisa's point.
There's too many vehicles in Manhattan as there is, and vehicles without drivers, I don't think it's a great idea. A lot of people can get hurt.
I think that they can go test somewhere else. New York City, I don't think, is a testing ground.
So they're clearly echoing Adalgisa's perspective. Jody, your response to that?
Self-driving technology unquestionably makes roads safer. So it's hard for...
What about slower, though? Because what about a jaywalk, to Adalgisa's point, a jaywalker, once people realize it's an autonomous vehicle, they're just going to walk in the road and slow everything down.
I love this point, because you do see this on the road in San Francisco today. So in San Francisco, you actually have fully driverless vehicles operating on public roads with riders in them. You can hail one from the Waymo app today. And what you see is, what's really interesting in this equation is people and robots interacting. So we know these cars are safer. They can see farther, they can stop faster, their reaction time is better than ours is as humans. We also know they take cars off the road. So one OECD study told us 9 out of 10 cars are going to get off the road if we deploy fleets of electric autonomous robotaxis. But the human robot effect is where it gets really interesting. And that's where these pilot programs are critical in safe deployment, because you've got that human behind the wheel up front who can take over and make sure the car is doing what you're expecting it to do, and then get it onto the roads over the coming decade.
Over the coming decade, because that is something that still needs to be solved for. It's a very fascinating conversation. This is really just the beginning of this topic for us in the city. I'd love you both to come on. Thank you for sharing your perspectives with us on this, and we'll continue to talk about it, especially once these cars do come to the streets of New York City. Analisas Perspective, thank you so much, and Jody Kelman, thanks for your time.
Thank you.